Welcome to This Week in the PNFL. I'm your host, Mark Hill, and along is Mitch Grawl and Dean Chambers. How you doing today, fellas?
Very good. How are you?
Yeah, fantastic.
All righty, all righty. So we've just made the quarter turn of this season. There are some coaches that are happy. There are some that are not. Um, there are some that are looking for one that is looking for their first win, and there are some that are doing well because they have not lost at all. So we're going to go through all of those games and all those scenarios and all those teams, and you know how we do things here. We go through the games, our middle segment, and then we do all our picks at the end. So if you guys are ready to go, we are going to go ahead and jump right into the games. The first game on the list, we have Minnesota hosting the Jets, and the Jets took this game into overtime and walked away with a 19-16 victory. We're going to start this show out this week with Dean.
Yeah, I think it's been 2 or 3 seasons in a row now that the Jets have lost to Minnesota. So
Yeah.
finally, this week the Jets managed to win, and it wasn't easy. Mac Jones was a player of the game, but it was a tough game, won by a field goal in overtime. And how did the Jets do it? Well, primarily they did it by playing some pretty solid defense and playing enough offense. I mean, the numbers on offense weren't huge. Jones only completed 48% of his passes and only a single touchdown pass. And the Vikings did a pretty good job of running the ball, but it wasn't quite enough. They went to overtime and lost to the Jets by a field goal.
Yes, indeed. Mitch, what you got?
Yeah, Dean's right. A couple of seasons ago, Minnesota pretty much destroyed New York, 31 nothing. I think last year they won 9-6. And so when the spreads came out, I was thinking, man, I think Minnesota is going to be a lot tougher than what the spreads are saying, and it proved to be true once again. Definitely Akers and Armstead for Minnesota had big games on the ground, but it just wasn't enough. Both teams, I mean, all the stat lines pretty darn close, and it's pretty amazing that a game goes into overtime. Both teams having 70 plus plays and not a single turnover. So clean game, good game, and Jets were able to hit 4 field goals and win by 3. So good job.
All right. Next game we have on the list, we have Jacksonville hosting Indianapolis, and Indianapolis walking away with a 27-17 victory. Dean.
Yeah, I'm not sure what to think about these two teams. Just when you think they're getting better, they lose. Just when I was picking Jacksonville to win, now they lose, and I had been picking Jacksonville to lose, and they were winning. It was a fairly close game. Both teams were below 300 yards in total offense, and Jacksonville just had the edge this particular day and won. But it looks like this game could have gone either way.
All right. Mitch.
Yeah, Indianapolis used that short passing game to control the clock, and Love was able to get 3 touchdowns out of it. But I will say, too, that Indianapolis defense, 5 sacks, had a lot of people involved there. Taylor, Walker, Bentley, Basham, Lewis, all with a sack in this game. And so, they had, Indianapolis, they were looking pretty dim there for those first 3 games, but they got their formula back this week, so we'll see if they can carry it on.
Okay. Next game we have Pittsburgh hosting KC, and a lot of people were predicting. Let me see here. They were predicting KC to take this game, but surprise, surprise, Pitt took this one. We're going to start off with the coach of Kansas City. What happened, Mitch?
Well, I think what happened was Pittsburgh's offense completely outplayed my defense. Man, I tell you what, I was telling you pre-show, it's like whatever play I had called on defense, apparently it was supposed to be defending the exact opposite call of what Pittsburgh called on offense. Because I don't care if it was running the ball, passing the ball, around the edge, over the middle. I couldn't stop Pittsburgh at all. So hats off there to Donovan and the team. Um, definitely have to reevaluate my defensive coaching, see if I can slow some teams down because I think this is what I think I said the fourth week in a row. I think I've given up 400 plus yards of offense to my opponent. So gotta stop that. So. Yeah, I mean, phew, this got tore up.
All right. Dean, what do you got?
Well, there's something else Kansas City might want to reassess too, and that is going forward on fourth down. After missing two fourth down conversions in our game, Kansas City was 0 of 3 on fourth down conversions. That's 3 turnovers on downs. That's a big factor in the game as well. And the Pittsburgh offense, the Steelers were solid on offense, 400 yards of total offense, very effective rushing, very effective passing. I think the combination of that and 3 turnovers on downs, which are like turnovers, really made a big difference.
All right. Next game we have New England, who's on a roll, hosting Las Vegas and walking away with a 28-6 victory. Mitch.
I don't even know what to say. Where in the world does this New England team come from? I mean, my goodness gracious. They switch quarterbacks again, and he throws for 400 yards against Las Vegas. I mean, goodness gracious alive. New England is just beating up on everybody on their schedule so far this year, and I don't even know I don't know what else to say. My goodness gracious, they're I don't know, I don't know if they came out of nowhere, but definitely didn't expect them to beat up on their opponents like this so far. But hats off to New England. Goodness gracious.
All right. Dean, what do you got?
Yeah, New England had almost 500 yards of total offense. But I've said in the past many times that the Raiders will look very good in the first half and score some points, and then their offense doesn't seem to show up in the second half. But I look at this game, it doesn't look like their offense showed up in either half. And, it's important to play defense, of course, but we're not winning many games if we don't score many points. And the Raiders' offense here was not very effective. 49 yards of rushing, only 189 yards of passing. That's not going to get it done. Tough loss.
Yep.
And the Patriots are looking very good this season.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree. Mock's got it going out there. Next game we have Atlanta hosting the Giants. And Atlanta is on a roll. They're starting to get that little roll going. They took this one 33-38. We're going to talk to the coach first. Dean, what'd you do?
Well, everything was looking pretty good in the first half. The offense was doing very well, and the defense was doing a respectable job of containing the Giants. And then the second half came, the momentum switched, and I think the Giants scored like 3 scores in a row and looked like the momentum might carry them to a win. And then the momentum kind of shifted the other way, so it ended up being a very close game. And again, it points to still some issues on defense that need to be worked on going forward. Because if we're giving up 33 points to the Giants or giving up more than that to some other teams, it's we need to play defense better than that. But the offense certainly showed some promise, though.
Yep. Mitch, what you got?
Yeah, I mean, it's not often you see a team that gains their opponent by 140 yards, end up, losing that game. But that's what happened here. I mean, Daniel Jones threw for 335 and two touchdowns. I mean, that's player of the game worthy right there. But for whatever reason, he didn't get it even out there. But looks like Snell for Atlanta, he had 17 carries and two touchdowns. But it was definitely. Oh, a backward stats versus score game for sure. But I'm sure Dean doesn't care as long as he gets to win. So
That's all that
I think he'll
matters.
take it and move on. Yeah.
Yep. Next game we have Washington hosting Detroit and edging them out by a score of 21-20. Mitch.
Well, you know what? Gardner saves the day for Washington again. Four tackles and an interception. Winning player of the game for Washington. Um, but when again you just take a look at the stat sheet, very even game and very even score on that part of it. The Washington definitely tried to control with the short passing game. This time around, and they were able to, keep things moving. But those two interceptions for Murray and three interceptions for Ritter. I mean, Ritter here looked like Ritter in real life for the Falcons in this game, and you know, it sloppy game, but again, Washington will take the win and not apologize for it.
All right, Dean.
Yeah, I think generally most of the time when a team has three turnovers, they're probably going to lose. Well, in this game, both teams each had three turnovers. And the result of that is you get a close game. And that's exactly what happened. It was 21-20. And, Detroit came back and almost won the game, but fell just short. And the other thing I noticed, which is interesting, both teams were 100% on fourth down conversions. Washington went for it once. Detroit went for it four times.
Yep. All right. So, next game that we have is the game that we were broadcasting this past week, which was the Los Angeles Chargers taking on the Chicago Cardinals. Definitely a good game. I think Dean called this one. Mitch and I were both thinking that Chicago was going to take it, but LA ended up taking this one 22-21. So since Dean called it, I'll let Dean start off.
Yeah, this was a tough game, but I think the big difference here was the player of the game, Deshaun Kaiser, completing 81% of his passes, two touchdowns and zero interceptions. That was a solid performance. The running game was pretty effective for the Chargers as well, and they played some pretty strong defense as well. Got 3 sacks of Sam Darnold, which always helps. And the Chicago offense didn't put up the kind of numbers and score as much as you normally would expect. So it's a tough loss. Chicago is surprisingly 2-2 this season so far with 2 losses. None of us, I think, will say that they'll go 8-8 though. They'll win most of the rest of their games. But
Yep.
could we be seeing possibly another team sneak into that race in the NFC West?
Could be. Mitch.
Well, I think Dean's got it all wrong. Got it all wrong. When you look at this game, the difference wasn't Deshaun Kaiser. No. The difference was Yepremian for the Chargers. Field goals, Yepremian 1 for 1. Chicago's Rosser, whatever his name is, 0 for 1. If Rosser could have hit his field goal, Chicago wins by 2. There's their difference right there. Kickers. Stinking kickers.
Well, that has been the theme for most of this season. So it has been with the kickers. So next game, I will officially open the floodgates and make it official. Season, the beating the coaching down season has begun. Fans are starting to bring paper bags with Indian totem poles drawn on them in the Pacific Northwest as you have Seattle hosting San Francisco. And despite the close time of possession, San Francisco ended up taking this game 31-19. Floodgates are open, Mitch. Go for it.
No, well, I mean, from what I understand, the WNBA game drew more of a crowd than this game here in Seattle. So I'm not sure what you want to read into that, Mark. But let's look at the positives. Yeah, two running backs that had 10 carries that averaged over, 4.3 yards a carry. So I mean, hey, yeah, that's something to build on. And you come down and you made a field goal, so that was a positive, this week. So you should feel good about that. But what's really strange though is more San Francisco. You're looking at Burrow, right? Burrow won Player of the Week in the PNFL, and he only threw for 237 and three touchdowns. He did have one rushing touchdown, but I just don't know if that necessarily is Player of the Week honors. But apparently, the computer press thought it was. But Mark, Chicago is only 2-2, so you're still in this thing. So don't give up yet. You're still in it right now.
Oh, we're not giving up. We're not giving up. Dean, what do you got?
Yeah, he's right. Just 2 games out of first place, so you're still in this. Yeah, this was a tough loss. Um, it's both teams did a good amount of rushing, not a whole lot of passing. I'm not sure what accounts for the score here. Well, 2 turnovers, but by San Francisco. So I don't know. It's almost like the score doesn't reflect the stats. So
Yeah.
what it looks like to me.
Well, also too,
It was probably the rain. It was probably the rain in the Kingdom. Probably got your team off kilter. Yeah, that you still haven't patched that hole in the roof. I don't think.
yeah, probably that hole is still there. So, hey, and
Yeah.
even the sacks are down this season compared to last season. The sacks
I
are
know,
down.
man.
So,
I mean, but this time after 4 games last year, I think you had given up what 40 sacks, 42 sacks.
somewhere around there. So the sacks are down. So that's something else to build
Yeah,
on. Just back to the
yeah,
drawing board, keep plugging away. I'd say this is
yeah,
the first.
yeah, man.
This is the first game that was really a beat down score wise. I think the other
Yeah,
ones were like one possession games. I think
yeah,
the first two or the first 2 games was like 3 points, and I think
yeah,
another one was by 6, and that went into overtime. So
yeah.
right
I
on the
mean, just
cusp.
just yeah. I mean, just feel lucky right now. Chicago's 2-2, and the team that's in first place in your division, they can't even average scoring a touchdown a game. So I think you're still in the middle in the hunt there, Mark.
Just got to work on that defense.
Yeah,
Thank you for patting my
yeah,
ego. Yeah, there's no such thing
yeah.
as a moral victory, so I need something on the
That's
board.
right.
So
That's right.
last game that we have for week 4 is Anaheim taking on New Orleans, and low scoring game as New Orleans hosted this game and took the game by the score of 10-6. We'll finish this off with Dean.
Yeah, once again, the Rams played very solid defense, and well, the Saints did too. But the Rams didn't score much on offense. I believe that was a pair of field goals they scored here. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they scored a pair of field goals, and the difference was that the Saints scored a touchdown. I mean, the total offense, though, I mean, it's almost like the Rams offense didn't show up. 109 total yards. That's definitely not going to get the job done. Net passing yards at 34 yards. What happened to their passing game?
Good question.
Wow.
Well, I don't know. Have you watched their games? Their offense hasn't necessarily been lighting it up all year long. Like I said, they're I don't think they're even averaging scoring one touchdown a game, but they've been able to keep their opponents off the scoreboard. So they get, even with this loss, I mean, 3-1, still, in a good spot. But definitely, offensively, the Rams are struggling, and so I'm sure there'll be some work in the lab from our new coach on his offense coming up.
Yes, most definitely.
Yeah, certainly can use it.
Yep.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. So, what do you have on this one, Mitch? Add to it.
Well, like I said, 109 total yards for a professional football team is, kind of unheard of, averaging 1.9 yards a game, and yet still only lost by 4 points. So I don't know. Hey, I don't know what else to say, but I'm sure every game that our new coach for Anaheim plays is a learning experience, and I'm sure he is happy to be, learning and still be 3-1 versus, learning and being in reverse. So New Orleans is kind of like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde a little bit. I'm still high on that team, but one week they can knock off Chicago, and then the next week they'll woo, and so I don't know. We'll see what happens with them the rest of the season.
All right. So, we just finished up the rundown for the week 4 games, and we are going to go ahead and pivot over to our middle segment, which is basically we just got finished talking about now is the standings going into the quarter turn. Your leaders in the AFC side, you have New York and New England both sitting at 4-0. The New York Jets. In the East Division and the West Division, you have Kansas City sitting alone at top at 3-1, with Pittsburgh and the Chargers on their heels. Over in the NFC side, you have Washington sitting on top in the East at 4-0, and then you have Atlanta right behind them at 2-2. In the West Division, you have upstart Shuggy and Anaheim sitting there at 3-1, with a logjam behind him with San Francisco, New Orleans, and Chicago all sitting there at 2-2. So as we talk about this a little bit more in depth, kind of get your guys' take on it, where things are looking right now, and I guess we'll go with we'll start with the good cop this time. We'll start with Dean. Then we'll go to the bad cop. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at the East, and I'm seeing something old and something new. The Jets are 4-0. That's what you would expect. And surprising us, the New England Patriots at 4-0. They scored 138 points, leading the league, and they've only allowed 44 points, which is also leading the league. It's even better than what the Jets are allowing at 53 points. And then we have Indianapolis and Jacksonville both at 1-3. I'm not sure both of those teams are going to. We'll see what happens. It could go either way, but I think one of those teams will compete for a playoff spot. We're not even sure which one at this point. In the AFC West, Kansas City is leading, but I think the Chargers will still compete for that division. I wouldn't rule out Pittsburgh having a shot at that. And we'll see what happens with Minnesota. They're never out of it.
Mm-hmm.
In the NFC West, I think Anaheim for some is kind of a surprise at 3-1. The 49ers are 2-2. You never know at this point. Is this one of those years when the 49ers will make the playoffs, or is this one of those years they're going to fade? So they could go either way. The Saints have been competitive over the last few seasons. They made the playoffs 2 years ago, didn't make it last season. I think the surprise here is Chicago being at 2-2. I don't expect them to stay in fourth place. Well, it's fourth place based on whatever the criteria you use. They're listed fourth. tie for second, I guess, but that won't hold up. In the NFC East, Washington, I guess, surprising no one is 4-0. Um, and then you have the other three teams with 1 or 2 wins. So we'll see what happens and see who's going to compete or try to compete with Washington for the division among those three. Although Detroit is not looking very, very good so far. But we'll see.
All right. Time for the bad cop. Give us the brutal assessment over there, Mitch.
I don't even know why you call me such, Mark. I mean, just because I'm honest about things, I get that bad reputation. No, here's the thing that has caught my eye these first 4 games of the season. And granted, it's only 4 games, so there's a lot of football left to go. So we don't want to, make long-standing judgments on just a 4-week sample size. But if you look at last year, just look at last year, compare. There were 2 teams that allowed 400 plus yards. I'm sorry, 400 plus points last season. Okay, and you look at right now here across the league. Basically, there are 9 teams that are on pace to give up 400 or right around 400 plus points this season. So, you know, don't know if it how much of that is the some of those play changes that happened over the off season, just bad, you know, bad coaching decision picking profiles, or just some teams, getting a little bit better with their offensive plans. But definitely, that's what's
Two
jumped out at
teams.
me here. I mean, it's the points seem to be a little higher through the first quarter of the season
Who were those
than
two
the
teams
previous
last
season.
season?
What was that?
Who were those 2 teams last season?
I think it was Pittsburgh and Las Vegas. Yeah, I think it was Pittsburgh and well, let me double check here. I think Vegas was one. And they were both in the AFC West. So let
Well,
me see.
Pittsburgh is allowing 123, so they're on their way to giving up 400.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, the 2 teams last year. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It was New England and Jacksonville. New England and Jacksonville. Yeah, New England gave up 438 points last year, and Jacksonville gave up 433.
I thought my team gave up 400 too.
No, just 380, just three, just 380. Where the flip side, I look at my team, right? I'm one of those that's on pace to giving up 400 points. I only gave up 300 last year. So my team's on pace to give up 100 plus more points this season than last, and yeah. So as I was telling the guys in pre-show, I said, man, I really got to reassess some things because at this point, yeah, my offense is looking good, but man, I feel like I feel like I feel like I'm Lincoln Riley, man. All I can do is coach offense right now. So we'll see. But yeah, that's the thing that jumped out at me. I think, like Dean said, I mean, from a team standpoint, New England definitely from the winning side is definitely the kind of the big surprise of the season, starting out there. Not just that they're 4-0, but I mean they're doing it in very dominant fashion. So that's pretty cool to see. From the not so positive, well, and I'll say too, Anaheim, though I think there are some chinks in that armor still.
Mm-hmm.
Join the new league here and start off 3-1 is still, something to feel good about. As I said, they're learning and they're winning while they're learning, so that's a good thing. Yeah, I did expect a little bit more out of Seattle, right? To be quite honest, out there, and I think Minnesota starting out 1-3. Granted, they've had they played a tough schedule, so I'm sure they are going to make up for that here over the next 12 games. But definitely, you know, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, the NFC West. Yeah, I mean it's Chicago's to win until they don't. Right, kind of the same thing for New York. I think some of these teams have gotten off to a hot start. Will cool down, and a few teams that got off to cool starts will warm up, and yeah, I'm sure they'll some of these will crisscross and pass each other over the next 12 weeks. But definitely exciting start, and we'll see how things play out the rest of the season.
But none of the teams are looking terrible, though. Even the teams that have, not as many wins. You look at Indianapolis and Jacksonville are scoring almost as many points as they've given up. Seattle has scored 73 and given up 97. That's not a huge difference. So none of these teams are really getting destroyed in the scoring. But someone has to win and someone has to lose. So some of these teams are losing more often than they're winning, which has to happen. It's a zero-sum game, you know. So as far as the standings go.
Well, Indianapolis is they've given up twice as much as they've scored. So, so yeah, Indianapolis had a rough 3 games to start the season, but they rebounded this past week. So we'll see if they can keep that going.
All right, all right. So, lot,
What's your
lot.
take on this?
My take on it, I will go with the negative side first. Um, as Mitch said, I thought Seattle would be doing a whole heck of a lot better than what they're doing. It's the story of close but no cigar. As Dean says, it's a zero sum game. Some have to win, some have to lose. It seems that they're right on that hump, with the exception of this last week. Um, just got to keep plugging away at it. Chicago definitely surprised me. I thought Chicago would be further up the ladder than where they're at right now. Anaheim surprised me, definitely at 3-1, sitting the top. So definitely Shuggy's doing a good job right now as far as on the west side. NFC East. I figured Washington was going to do what Washington does. Pretty much how I expected that whole thing to flow, with Atlanta behind them, New York, and Detroit. So that pretty much is looking to what I expected there. No major surprises there. Um, Atlanta's going to be in the thick of it as always. But Washington sitting up top, I kind of figured that. AFC East, Jets. We know what the Jets do. So yeah, what surprised me, it it surprised me, but not surprised me. And I'll kind of clear this up a little bit with New England. I figured New England would do much better, um, and would perform well in their division. I did not expect them to be 4-0. So while I was surprised that they would be performing well, I was no. Let me rephrase that. I knew they performed well. That 4-0 surprised me. I did not expect that, and I think you guys will probably say the same things. Like, oh wow, we didn't see this coming. Um,
Right, but they haven't played the Jets yet. We'll see what happens when they do.
yep, and they played. Yep. This is true. Indy and Jacksonville. Sorry guys, you kind of like Seattle right now. I kind of figured this is where we were going to be sitting at right now. Over in the West, you know, Kansas City's always up there. Um, L.A. I thought L.A. would be sitting either in first or second place. Pittsburgh moving up. I think that's gonna have a good, interesting play going forward. Minnesota. I figured Minnesota would have been 2-2 or 3-1 as well. Um, Vegas. I figured Vegas still be struggling a little bit. So there's a little slight surprise there with Pittsburgh sitting in second place. So, but yeah, I think with the exception of what's going on over in the NFC West and a slight surprise in the AFC West, the East divisions, the East divisions pretty much going the way I thought they were going to go. So, would you guys agree or disagree with that?
Yeah, pretty much, except that we all agree the Patriots are doing better than we probably expected. I mean, If New England was 2-2, we'd probably say, yeah, that's about right. But they're 4-0.
Yeah, the 4-0 sitting up there battling. That definitely was a surprise. So, all right, guys.
I think what Dean's saying is that we all anticipate New England coming back to earth here at some point. But in the meantime, they should celebrate and be happy.
There you go. Don't worry, be happy, keep it going. All
Well,
right.
we're about to get to that in a matter of seconds.
Yep, about to jump into that right now. So, as we are going into week 5 and pivoting into week 5, let's see what we have over here. So, going into week 5, there's going to be as usual um, teams that have to make the usual, got to make their statements, and if not, they're going to find themselves in a very, very big hole. So, but as we lead into that, we're looking at our season so far. On the prediction side, Mitch is sitting atop at 21-15 overall for the season. Dean is sitting at 17-19 overall for the season. And I'm sitting here at 21-15, tied with Mitch overall for the season. Lead pipe lock. Mitch is sitting at one, and this is not looking right, is it? Yeah, Mitch is sitting at 1-3 for lead pipe locks. Dean is sitting at 1-3, and surprisingly enough, I am the reverse of my team. I am sitting at 4-0, so I have been perfect on lead pipe locks this week or this season.
But for Mitch and I, those things are lead pipe curses.
Yes, this is
Yeah.
true. This is true. This is true. So as you guys see that on the screen where we're at for the lead pipe blocks, we're gonna go ahead and jump into the week 5 games. Um, you guys know the routine. We call it out, and we go with what our sporting books calls, and then we'll move on from there. So, first game up, and this is what we talked about earlier. We have the 4-0 New York Jets taking on the 4-0 New England Patriots. The sports books are giving giving the Jets 13 and a half. Ooh, no respect for New England. Mitch, we're going to start
Oh,
off with you.
well, I'll tell you, you look right now, right? Both teams 4-0. Both teams, I think, are 1-2 in points scored, 1-2 points allowed, or somewhere along those lines. Both are in the top three in passing. Both are in the top three. Sorry, top three in passing defense out there. And so, you look at this, and it's probably going to be a pretty even game, but I'm going to take the Jets in this one, and I think they're going to cover this spread. So, in fact, you know what? I'm really going to go bold on this. Put it as my lead pipe lock there, uh, Mark.
Okay. Hmm. Dean, what do you got?
Yeah, I looked at this. I was tempted to say that the Jets are going to cover the spread, that New England make that closer. But, when those teams go at it, the Jets have been very dominant over the Patriots for a while now. And I don't think that's going to slow down in this game at all. So I'm going to agree with Mitch and say that Jets are going to win and cover the spread here.
Okay. Ah,
Mark that down. Mark that down, Mark. Dean and I agree.
yes. I have an asterisk by that one right now. So,
It's
All
the
right.
end of the world as we know it.
yes.
I know. And
Um,
so when New England wins by 10, we can all laugh at each other.
yes. We have two um
Oof.
big bowlers going against each other, and this one will show if New England is for real or not. Um, I'm Sorry, Coach Mox. I got to go with the Jets. I'm taking the Jets this week. But I will say that I do believe the spread will be much closer. I don't think it's going to be 13 and a half. I will say that this should be motivation and, locker room um, pin up right now because this game here is huge um, for New England. I think if New England was to take this one, I think he would definitely turn the heads of a lot of people right now. So,
And the game is in New York too. So I mean that doesn't help New England, but we'll see.
yeah. So
Yeah, yeah. This is a statement game for sure. Statement game for sure.
definitely, definitely. So, all right. So I'm taking the Jets on this one, but it's going to be a much closer spread. So, next game we have Kansas City hosting LA. They are giving Kansas City 4.5. Dean, what do you got?
Yeah, this game, the location matters less. The Chargers play very well on the road and are tough. And these games are always tough between these two teams. And Kansas City is favored, but I just see the Chargers pulling off the upset here. It might be very close. They may only win by 1 point, but LA wins this one.
All right. Mitch, what do you got?
I've got if my defense does not show up, it's gonna be a long day for Kansas City. That's what I've got out there. So I think my defense is gonna show up this week. This is a big game for both teams, and so always fun when Steve and I play each other. We've gone back and forth for several seasons now on who's taking this division and kind of back and forth on these games. Steve's got me the last few, so I gotta find a way to get myself back in the saddle there. So it'll be a good game, but I can always say can't bet against myself. So we'll see how it goes.
All right. Um, the question is Kansas City's defense going to show up? I think. Ooh, I'm flipping a coin right now. I'm literally flipping a coin, and
Yeah, I think the game probably should be a pick 'em.
yeah,
You know, you
coin
Is
says
that
Kansas City. I'm going
is
with
that heads Chargers win and tails the Chiefs lose?
yeah.
That's right. That's right.
So I'm gonna go with Kansas City on this one. I do believe this should be a pick'em game. I mean, it's both of them are good teams, and again, it just depends on if Kansas City's defense shows up and if LA can put a potent offense together to stop them. I mean, I just, ugh. Uh, yeah,
I did try to reach out to Derek Thomas's agent to see if he still wanted to play, and his agent reminded me that he was dead.
yeah,
So
pretty
can't,
much.
did was not able to bring Derek Thomas back
No,
for this
you
game.
you can't do that. So,
No, no.
but
Yeah,
well,
Yeah.
maybe you
two
can.
words to the description of the Kansas City defense: Deshaun Kaiser.
There you go.
That's right.
So, all right, next game we have Indianapolis hosting Minnesota. They are giving Minnesota 7.5. Mitch, what do you got?
I'm going to ride the purple bandwagon on this one. No, yeah, I think that Minnesota's going to win this. They they're 1-3, but it's been a tough 1-3. Their defense is going to suffocate Indianapolis, and they'll win this game. They'll win.
Do you think they'll cover?
It might be a little closer, just because sometimes Minnesota will stub their toe offensively, but their defense will absolutely suffocate Indianapolis.
Okay. Dean, what do you got?
Well, this is a battle of 1-3 teams, and when you're 1-3, and believe me, I've been there before. When you're 1-3, you know you realize you really, you're thinking, I really need to win this week to stay in it this season, because 1-4, your odds are pretty slim of doing much this season. So this is going to be really important for both teams. But I don't see Barney losing a game at 1-3. I think he's going to put in the extra effort and play a solid game. And I'm not saying Indianapolis won't, but I think Minnesota will win and will cover the spread. Spread looks a little large at 7.5, but I see maybe like a 31-21 or a 28-17 kind of win for Minnesota here.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and you got to think too. I think Minnesota, right, for the first 4 games that they've had, they've played LA twice. They played, Kansas City, in that piece of it, and and they play, and so they've, like I said, that 1-3 is a tough 1-3 because they didn't get blown out in any of those games. So I think
No,
Minnesota, they're in good play. Hey, they're the best 1-3 team out there.
No, they've scored 79 and given up 89, and that is a tough schedule to start with. So
yeah,
and Minnesota is
they're still solid in the middle of all this. Yeah.
All right. For me, I'll keep it simple. I'm riding with you guys. I think we're all in agreement this week on this game. I'm going to be going with Minnesota as well, and I think that spread is pretty much point on. So, next game we have Jacksonville hosting Pittsburgh. They are giving Pittsburgh 8.5. Dean.
Yeah, I think there'll be no letdown for Pittsburgh. I think they will win this week, but Jacksonville will be tough at home. So Pittsburgh is going to win, but will not cover that spread.
All right, Mitch.
Pittsburgh better win because they just beat me, and that would, hey, they should be on a roll. So I'm going to go with Pittsburgh.
All right. Second, no, was the third one. I think we're all in agreement on. I'm going with Pittsburgh as well for this one. Next game we have is a pick'em game. This is Seattle hosting Las Vegas. Mitch.
Oh, let's see here. You know what, man? You're the best 0-4 team in the league. I'm going with Seattle.
I'm the only 0-4 team in the league. Dean.
You didn't tell everybody.
And after this week, there will not be any 0-5 teams. So it's a tough game between the two. It's kind of cruel actually that there's one win between these two teams, and one of these teams has to lose, and neither one can afford to lose. And I think Seattle will win this game at home, and the Raiders will fall to 1-4.
All right.
Well, hey, I have some breaking news for everybody. My wife just overheard me make that prediction and said I was mean. So I apologize to the listeners out there.
Oh, okay. She hasn't seen us play this season.
She hasn't watched any of your games, Mark, so she would know what I'm talking about.
Exactly. I'm rolling with my team. Go Hawks. We're getting off the schneid. Go Hawks. Next game we have Washington hosting Atlanta, and they are giving Washington 7.5. Mitch.
You know what? Washington, Atlanta's been a pretty interesting matchup these last couple of seasons. At home, probably be in the rain for Washington. Atlanta's a dome team. I'll go with Washington.
All right. Dean, what do you got?
But I think you forget that Washington doesn't play well in the rain, even at home.
True. I was wondering if he was going to say that.
Yeah.
You forget that
He'll,
Yeah.
hey, you got that old man playing quarterback for you, so I heard he has
Man is doing pretty well.
slippery hands.
No slippery hands. That old man is doing pretty well. And you also forget which team is 4-0 against Washington the last three times we've played, and 8 out of the last 10. Not that any of that matters, Mr. 13-0-1.
Mm-hmm.
So it all comes down to this game, but I think it'd be a close game, and I think the visiting team will manage to score a couple more points.
All right. I have to concur. I am going to go with it quick and simple. I'm going to go with Atlanta on this one. I think they're going to definitely pull off the upset this week. So, next game we have Chicago, and I think this is going to be a close one. Chicago hosting San Francisco. They are giving Chicago 10.5. Dean.
Well, this is a matter of which San Francisco team shows up, and I think San Francisco is going to go into Chicago and not do very well. I think it would be a weak performance by Joe Burrow. Chicago is going to go back to playing tough defense and probably get a lot of sacks. Chicago is going to win and cover.
Mitch, what do you got?
Mark it down. I agree with Dean. I think Chicago is going to come out and remind folks that they still run the West. Yeah, I'm thinking Chicago.
All right. On this one here, even though they're in my division, I had to pick one of the two. I'm going to take Chicago on this one to make a statement. And on top of that, I'm going all in, and I'm going with Chicago as my lead pipe lock this week. Last two games we have the New York Giants hosting the New Orleans Saints. They are giving New Orleans 3.5. Mitch, what do you got?
Ooh, this is the tough one for me to pick. Both teams have shown promise in certain areas and have shown some deficiencies in others. I'm gonna go with the home team. I'm gonna go with the home team on this one. I think that'll help make up the difference. I'll go with the Giants.
All right. Dean, what do you got?
Yeah, I think this game should actually be a pick 'em. It could go either way, but I think the momentum that the Giants showed in the second half last week will continue this week, and they'll win at home.
All right. I'm going to go the different route. My goodness, this week I am picking all the teams in my division. Well, with the exception of San Francisco because they're playing Chicago. But I'm going to go with the Saints on this one. I think it could. I agree. It could have been a pick'em game, but I'm going to pick the Saints on this one, thinking that the Saints are going to win this one. Yeah, I think they're going to win this one. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Yeah. I was going to say more about the points, but I'm just going to leave it as is. So.
Why
Yes,
bother? There you
yeah.
go. Yeah.
Last game of week 5, we have Detroit hosting the surprising Anaheim Rams. Now, this one they do have listed as a pick'em game. Dean, what do you got?
There's no way this should be a pick 'em. You're looking at a matchup between one of the best defenses by scoring in the league in Anaheim and probably the most inept offense in the league in Detroit. I mean, how can that be a pick 'em? Not even close.
I
The
think
Rams
it's
are going
because
to
the new coach.
Well, then I guess it's become popular to underrate Shogi. But the Rams are going to win this game. I'm not going to predict a big win because we haven't seen the Rams offense explode yet. It may happen. It may not. I wouldn't be surprised to see it a margin of maybe about a touchdown, but the Rams will win on the road, and it's my lead pipe lock.
Okay, boom. Mitch, what do you got?
I am going to go with Detroit on this one. I think,
Woohoo!
yeah, I think the rookies are all going to stand up and play well. I'm going to go with Detroit.
All right. I'm gonna go ahead and split the baby on this one. I'm gonna go with again another team in my division. I'm gonna go with Anaheim on this one. I think that they're gonna keep this train rolling, and I think I think Detroit still has a lot of work to do on their side. So, all right. So as we come to wrap up Week 5, um, again, good games out there. We're gonna try and see if we can give you guys another um, play-by-play commentary or a Eli and Peyton esque broadcast. Again, if you guys are out there for your upcoming games, going into Week 6 and on down, as you guys see your schedule coming up, hey, reach out, let us know, and we'll be more than willing to do it. Um, since you guys enjoy it from what we've been hearing, we're going to keep this thing rolling. So, or we'll be reaching out to you guys, asking you guys you want to submit your game plans early so we can go ahead and broadcast it. So, as we come to wrap up this week, we're going to go around the table. Dean, what do you have?
I think this weekend's games are going to tell us a lot about what direction many of these teams are going in this season. I think we'll really see an indication of that with this week's games.
All right, Mitch, what do you got?
I think that's Dean saying that separation Saturday on this
I
week
agree.
in the PNFL. No, hey, good first quarter of the season. Lots of exciting games, lots of interesting coaching decisions in some of these games, which always makes it fun. And I think it's a good start to the season. So I say, Mark, we just go from here and let's get it.